Welcome to the 2026 Nick Saban Legacy Awards, presented by the Birmingham Monday Morning Quarterback Club and the Quarterbacking Children's Health Foundation. Please welcome to the stage, from WBRC 6 News, Sheldon Haygood.
How's everyone doing? Great to see a lot of familiar faces out there. On behalf of WBRC TV and Gray Media, I want to welcome you to the Red Mountain Theater. Going to be a great time. People are still going to be coming in at this time. We're not quite ready to start the show, about 2 minutes away, okay? So get ready. Now, before we get started, I want to take time to thank our sponsors. So let me move out of the way so that you can see them. You got Alabama Power, Aflac, Coca-Cola, Maynard Nexon, Regions, MPT, the Caring Foundation of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. We got Brassfield and Goring, of course, the Monday Morning Quarterback Club. And I'm so happy to always have been a part of this for so many years when it comes to those Monday meetings. And I do want to let everybody know that's a part of the club. Unlike those Monday meetings, okay, where there are no cameras, there are cameras here. So guys, watch the fingers, okay? No hand gestures, because we've got a ton of cameras and they're going to pick it up. And of course, this is also streaming worldwide, WBRC.com and the WBRC streaming app. So we're going all out for this event, which is the 5th annual Nick Saban Legacy Award. And then on Sunday nights, we're going to be showing it on television, WBRC, Sunday night, 8 o'clock. You may even get to see yourself on TV. Another reason to watch, right? Because you are a bunch of good-looking people. You're going to get information. You're going to get some great stories. You're going to have some laughs, not from me, because I'm not that funny. And also, a couple of recipients and their families are going to be receiving these great trophies that were established and designed and sculpted by a local man, Dr. Chip Taylor, a retired orthodontist. So the pregame warm-ups was outside in the VIP and in the lobby. We've run out on the field. I'm giving you all that excitement. It's time for kickoff. So are you ready? Let's go on ahead and welcome Lauren Sisler and the coach, Rick Neuheisel.
Me first.
Come on ahead, young lady. How is everybody? Big round of applause for Lauren.
Oh, come on now. What's
Big
up,
timer.
y'all? Hey.
Big timer.
5th annual Nick Saban Legacy Award. It is such an honor to be here. Red Mountain Theater, we thank you for this beautiful venue. The Monday Morning Quarterback Club, of course, for this opportunity. And man, college football season is here.
That's a fan, ladies and gentlemen. It is. It's here all year long.
It is.
If you really stop to think about it. I actually have a radio show. We talk about it all year long.
And I was actually on your radio show today.
You were on it this morning, talking about a big tennis match that she had. How'd that go, Lauren? See what happens when you start getting distracted when you're getting ready to compete?
Yep, I know. Well, they distracted me. But, you know, I'm excited for all the things we have to look forward to this upcoming season. First and foremost, we have to highlight the fact the SEC 9 conference games, y'all. Who is in it for that?
9 conference games is great for the fans.
Yeah.
We're going to see all sorts of great competition. It is a nightmare and then some for the coaches. Because here's what happens. I went through this. I was in the Pac-10 at the time, coaching for UCLA, and I'm sitting there, guys, you realize now that with the 9 conference games, that means 5 extra losses for the conference. It's like Russian roulette. Where those bullets land, anybody's guess. For the SEC, that means 8 extra losses. Where that lands in a competitive world for 12 spots in the college football playoff is a problem. But we're going to find out how it goes. But for the fans, you're all going to be treated to some fantastic football.
All right. And we, of course, the political landscape right now, the Protect College Sports Act. How are we feeling about that right now on the table?
Well, I'm excited that we're trying, right? Yeah. Because you can't survive as a business if you're getting sued all the time, right? And we have a lot of that going on right now. Coach Saban has been to Washington a number of times trying to get this thing over the finish line. Right now it's sitting there and tabled until the Senate gets back in September. But fingers crossed, especially with the kind of stuff that's going on right now, maybe they'll be motivated to get us some action and get our game on solid footing again. I think everybody will look forward to that.
Yeah, and maybe Coach Saban can give us some insights on his trips to Washington. He said he's been there about 9 times already, so making the run. Courtroom drama.
Judicial jiu-jitsu, right? Judicial jiu-jitsu.
Yes,
say that
I wanted
3 times
him
fast.
to say that because there was no way I was getting that out.
So what we had a class of 22. All those kids that graduated in high school in 2022 were given 4 years to play. And if they played all 4 of those years, they're done. The NCAA, in making this new rule 5 for 5, with apologies to Jaden Daniels, making this rule, they just said, well, the class that just finished their 4th year, they don't get the 5th year. No soup for you, if you've watched Seinfeld, right? No soup for you. Well, what does everybody do in today's day and age if you don't get what you want? You go to court. So they went to court in Ohio. They went to court in countless other states. And a federal judge in Colorado then said, okay, you're right. You all get to play. Now, there's somebody at the 10th Court of Appeals, Federal Court of Appeals, put a stay on that. But while that was going around, Lane Kiffin, stop me if you've heard of him, he, in Louisiana, has got another courtroom drama where now they've got a tight end that played for the Cleveland Browns, Daquan Wright, is now getting cut by the Browns to come and play at LSU. He was on his team at Ole Miss. You're asking, why is this happening? The answer is money. Now, what was the question?
Everybody was kung fu fighting.
That's exactly right.
Right?
This is what she does when she loses in tennis.
All right, we're almost to the end. December 1st, they're going to have a decision, college football playoff. We're still at 12 teams, but expansion is coming, my friend.
Another question that is often asked, what is the future of the college football playoff? Right now it's 12 teams. The Big Ten is absolutely adamant that they want 24. Greg Sankey and the SEC is saying 16. They want more information about 24. Namely, they want to know, how are we going to replace the beautiful game that we have in Atlanta every year called the SEC Championship game? And that's a fair question. So now it's just going back and forth. What the answer will be really is going to fall on the shoulders of the television folks.
Okay, enough
because
talking.
they have to replace the television revenue.
Yeah, okay, enough talking. Week 0 of the season, lots of great matchups. Super excited about it. Lay it down for us.
We've got a game in Ireland. 3 of the last 4 years, that game in Ireland has come down to a last-second field goal, right? So we've got Bill Belichick at North Carolina against Sonny Dykes and TCU. They're on their way on Wednesday. That game will be, I think, on ABC. Then we've got Virginia is going to play North Carolina State. Both those teams trying to get a fast start in the ACC. They're having 9 conference games now, too, in that conference. It's been 30 years since Virginia won the ACC, 46 years since North Carolina State won the ACC. So they're due. They're due, to say the least. And then North Dakota State gets to play their first game as a FBS school.
Yep.
The Bison coming in. And
Been in the
Sacramento
Fargo Dome a
State,
time or 10.
Sacramento State, the Hornets get to play their first FBS game at Eastern Michigan.
Lots
so big games,
and lots
big games
to look forward to. And, of course, we're going to dive in with Coach Saban. But, you know, it's going to be a great night. Super excited about it. We will be honoring 2 men who have left an incredible mark on college football, Coach Lou Holtz as well as Coach Mack Brown. And the impact that they've created, we will obviously dive into tonight. But without further ado, we want to get into the conversation with the man that this award is named after. 7 national championships, 11 SEC championships, 297 career wins. But when you look at the legacy of Coach Saban, it's not just about the wins, the championships, the victory. It's the standard that he set for the sport of college football. And y'all, let's be real. He did trade the headset for College Game Day. Some people will say he entered on the dark side in the media, like you, Rick Neuheisel. But tonight we once again have the privilege of welcoming here, along with 2 extraordinary coaching legacies and the impact of the men that have left their mark on college football. Let's welcome to the stage Nick Saban.
Great to see you, Coach.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Microphone right there.
Thank you. They don't show the game up there that we lost to UAB. First year at Alabama.
I spent some time studying Alabama. There weren't a lot of losses on that resume. It was a pretty good run. And now you're making another great run in this world of television. An Emmy. You know, I've been in this television business for a little while, and I got nothing like an Emmy. How the heck do you make that look so dang easy?
Well, you know, really what I got was an Emmy for being the best of the rookies. And I was the only rookie that year.
You seem very natural at it. Is it fun? Do you look forward to it?
It is absolutely fun. You know, we have a great team. You know, the thing that I was most concerned about when I retired and getting out of coaching, I'd been on a team since I was 9 years old. And not being a part of a team was, you know, the biggest thing that I feared. But we have a great team that you work with every day. Kurt, Reese, you know, everybody knows McAfee. You know, I mean, Des.
Really?
All right, so, you know, that's a great group of people. We prepare well, we work well together, and it is a lot of fun.
Well, you guys absolutely look like you have fun, but I want to say this. Your preparation is tremendous, and just seeing you make that transition, it's not easy. TV is not easy, and you probably have experienced that, the ups and downs, live TV. It's probably easier coaching sometimes, but what does that preparation look like for you as you prepare to get on the set every week for College Game Day?
Well, I think the thing that I do a little bit different, and I think if you were a coach, you probably do the same, is I figure a story that I'm going to tell about a player or a defense or an offense or whatever it might be, and then I'll watch 2 or 3 games and pick out 4 or 5 plays that tell that story. The converse of that is somebody hands you 4 or 5 plays and then you figure out what to say about it. And I think there's a big difference in those two things. I enjoy that part of it as much as anything, as the preparation for it, because it keeps me involved in the game. And I love to watch the film and get to know the players and look at new schemes and see what people's doing on offense, defense, and all that. In fact, I spent the whole day today, you know, trying to figure out Lane's offense and how they manage tempo. They go fast, then they go slow, then they try to get your signals and what you're doing on defense and get the most advantageous play. So they don't go as fast as they used to because they want to get in the best play. So how do you counteract that on defense? So that I'm still doing all that. The good news is there's no consequence when Saturday comes.
So I was going to ask you this question because you're such a bright football mind. I heard Lane Kiffin talking about the green dot and taking advantage of the ability to talk to the quarterback, Charlie Weiss Jr., getting a chance to communicate with him up until there's 15 seconds left on the 40-second clock. And their offense is number 1 since the green dot became a rule. If you know that they're going to snap the ball at or around that 15-second mark and be able to communicate to the quarterback anything they want to communicate, Trinidad Chambliss being the most recent example. What do you do defensively to talk to your green dot to hold your disguise long enough to make sure the disguise is still a disguise?
Well, let me say this about Lane. When we had Blake Sims playing quarterback, he was whistling and calling out the plays from the sidelines when we didn't have a green dot. So he was telling them what to do anyway. But I think the green dot is not as beneficial on defense because you have one guy that has a green dot. Everybody's got to get the signal on defense, especially if they're going fast. So how do you have one-word signals that everybody can pick up on and still use the green dot? And if the other team changes a play and you want to change the play, if you change it with the green dot, how does everybody else get the communication? You've got a hand signal or something to get it to them. So I think it's much more advantageous and better for the game that you can talk to the quarterback because I think it's cleaner. People like to watch offense, like to see big plays, and I think you have a better chance to do that and because you have a better chance to get in the most advantageous play based on what you see on defense. Defensively, you have to disguise. I think people that disguise the best and hold disguise until the ball turns over have the best chance to be successful. Everybody's in the gun. You know, when I coached at the Cleveland Browns, Bernie Kosar never wanted to be in the gun. because he wanted to get the ball from the center and never take his eyes off the safeties and down the field so he could read the coverage and know where to throw the ball. When you're in the gun, you have to take a second to look at the ball to catch it. Well, when they turn the ball over and you change the defense and you change the scheme on them, especially in the secondary, you know, the quarterback's now got to figure it out after he catches the ball. And I think that can be advantageous to the defense. And I think that's the most important thing that you can do on defense in this day and age with no huddle is disguise and hold your disguise.
Do you mind if I ask one more football question for this guy? So, you said years ago, as an offensive guy, I remember this vividly, that all this up-tempo stuff and so many plays in a game, you asked the question, what do we want college football to look like? Now we've gone away from it. The television has gotten involved. We've gotten things down. We keep the clock rolling with the ball going out of bounds and up until 2 minutes left in the game and such. And we've got it in a 3-hour package. The Cotton Bowl last year, Ohio State and Miami, 63 plays for Miami, 59 for Ohio State. Is that where you want college football? That's an NFL game, or do you somewhere in the middle of where it was?
Well, you know, I like the NFL game, having been in the NFL for, 8 years, because there's so many games, and now we've increased the number of games. You know, our team's played 15 games, I think, 3 times to win the championship, and that was probably too many games. You could potentially play 17 games in the system that we have now, and we're talking about expanding the playoffs even more, which is crazy. I mean, how many games are you going to have? How does it fit in the academic calendar? So I think there's a sweet spot in there, like 75, no more than 80 plays. And I think it's a player safety issue to play too many plays, especially if you're doing it over a long period of time, playing lots of games.
Coach, I know you love talking football, and I'm sure you probably, in some ways, miss the recruiting, the winter conditioning, the spring football, all the
process.
The process, right. And a very structured man you are, of course, eating the same lunch every day. Do you still eat that turkey sandwich every day?
I can't get Miss Terry to make me one.
Every day, all day. Oatmeal cream pie, though, it's still in the still in the cupboard.
I can get those myself.
Yeah. I love it. What do you miss most about that routine and that process?
What I miss most is the relationship with the players, and actually, coaching is teaching, teaching is ability to inspire learning. And those relationships with the players and seeing those guys develop and coaching them on the field was what I enjoyed most about it. I like the strategy, I like watching the film, I like figuring out the game plan, but the actual interaction with the players is the thing that I miss the most, and the relationships with them and how you had a chance to impact their life.
But of course, you've taken up golf, apparently mahjong?
No mahjong.
Bridge.
No.
Bridge.
Miss Terry's on the mahjong, right?
Right.
She hadn't sold you yet. She hadn't hooked you in. It's coming.
I'm not doing that. I looked at all those things that you got to memorize, and I said, this is not for me. But I will tell you a story about bridge. I didn't start playing bridge. I played cards all the time. I played pinochle when I was growing up. That was a big thing in the coal mining town. I played gin in the NFL on plane trips all the time. Players played cards, played bourrée, whatever. Wherever we were, we played cards. So when I retired, they said, we need another person to play bridge. And so Miss Terry tells me, we'll teach you how to play. I said, okay, teach me how to play. So they taught me how to play. And they said, now, we're playing with these older ladies who are very southern, proper folks. Terry says, can't talk shit. And I said, I'm not playing if I can't talk shit.
Done.
And now I got all those prim and proper ladies talking shit.
I love it. Hey, Coach.
That's so good.
So good. Last one before we get on with tonight's award show. You and Miss Terry do so much philanthropic work, just like the Monday Morning Quarterback Club, Quarterbacking for Children's Health, the great work in the community, Nick's Kids. Just share with us a little bit about your involvement and some of the projects and things you all have been working on behind the scenes to really support the community.
Well, I think the thing I'm most excited about is the Children's Learning Center we're building in Tuscaloosa. I don't know how many people have seen the progress on that, but it's 157,000 square feet, $100 million project. And you know, it's going to be a STEM hub for all the teachers in the state of Alabama to come and get the new processes for whether it's technology or whatever it is that they teach. It's going to be a career development center for young people. It's also going to be like every other, you know, student center in terms of things for kids to do. But we're even going to do things like, you know, the black belt kind of pulls down the education a little bit, you know, in Alabama. So we're going to run a bus down there, get those kids, bring them up there, try to elevate and give them, you know, some hope for what they can accomplish and what they might be interested in doing in the future. So that's going to be our legacy. You know, that's going to be there 25, 35, 50 years from now in terms of how we continue to help people and help young kids and young people have a chance to be more successful in life way past when we're not here. So that's what I'm most excited about. I mean, Miss Terry, we were building a house for every championship that we won. Now we just make an excuse to build a house every year. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I'm glad to do it. But I'm also proud of the fact that one of the things I'm most proud of is how many players we have that play in the NFL that now have foundations because they participated in building a house on Saturday. Miss Terry would put them to work, whether it was Tua. I mean, she gave him a job up on the scaffold. I said, give him a job on the ground.
Yes, please.
So, but, you know, like we just had our big giveaway. I think we give away $800 million or something the first day of camp each year at Alabama in the stadium, and all the kids come. And Derrick Henry has his own foundation now. He gets on the big screen. He gives every one of those kids, special needs kids mostly, a book bag full of school supplies.
Wow.
But Bryce has a foundation. Mark Ingram has a foundation. So many guys have foundations of their own now because they experience what it's like to give back. And I think that's one of the great things that people don't realize that Nick's Kids has done in terms of the example that it sets for the young people, that they get involved and help other people and have compassion for others and give them a better chance to be successful.
And of course, you underscore legacy, and that is why we are here tonight, the Nick Saban Legacy Award, and we're so honored to be here alongside you for our 5th year, and we are going to honor our first recipient. And when you talk about the great characters and great coaches in the history of college football, Lou Holtz belongs in that conversation. Over a career that spanned more than 3 decades, Coach Holt led 6 different college football programs, 249 games won, and of course his name will forever be synonymous with Notre Dame. In 1988, he led the Fighting Irish to the perfect 12-0 season, a national championship, and 20 years later he took his rightful place in the College Football Hall of Fame. But y'all, the wins, the accolades, that only tells part of the story here. Coach Holtz was a teacher, he was a motivator, he was a mentor, a man of deep faith and family, whose personality, quick wit, we know, and ability to connect with people with every bit as memorable as his success on the sideline. Of course, we lost Coach Holtz. He passed away in March at the age of 89. And while college football lost one of its giants, his impact lives on those that he influenced. Most importantly, the family that knew him simply as Dad and his grandpa. So tonight we have the privilege of celebrating that legacy with them. Please welcome to the stage his son, championship winning coach in his own right, Skip Holtz. Skip, I'll give you a hug, bud. Good to see ya.
Good to see you as well.
Great to see you, brother.
Appreciate so much, man. Appreciate you. Coach, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, so we said Nick Saban, Coach, you got the Emmy, so you're part of this Q&A just as much as we are. So we were going to let you fire the first question.
All right, Skip, so I'm going to tell you a story before I ask you a question. So I'm coaching at Michigan State. Your dad's at Notre Dame. Dean Pease is a coach for him. And Dean Pease was my defensive coordinator, our defensive coordinator at Toledo. So I called Lou and asked him for permission to talk to Dean to hire him at Michigan State. And I mean, there was 5 minutes of the best ass chewing I ever got in my life about trying to.
I've had a couple of those
trying to
coaches.
hire one of his coaches. You've had a few of those, right? So finally, after we settled down, I said, Lou, how many coaches do you know from West Virginia? He named a couple. I says, how many do you know from West Virginia that went to Kent State? It's me and him. So he settled down and gave me permission to talk to him. So, but anyway, you know, being around your dad for all these years, I always had a tremendous amount of respect for him. He had a tremendous impact on the game. The one thing that I loved about your dad was the human side that he brought to the game with his humor without ever disrespecting anyone and making people who weren't experts be able to engage in the game so well. And I just loved him for that. And in TV, after his coaching career, he continued to do that, I think, tremendously. So what gave him that kind of spirit? What was his motivation to be the great coach that he was and the communicator that he was, which is the thing that I probably admire most?
He was a phenomenal communicator. That was one thing he could do, and I know a number of people came to see me that talked about they had heard him speak. And how many people have heard him speak? I mean, then exactly. He was given that gift that I know even as a high school senior, I'm going to college, and he would sit down and you'd have lunch with him. And I would drive, I left Arkansas and went that 12 hours to South Bend, and I'm not going to make a B. I'm going to go to every class. I'm going to sit in the front of the room. I mean, I was so motivated. But that's what he can do, and there is a personal side of it. But I think what drove him, he was a depression baby. He never had much. I think the two greatest lessons that he taught us, and my sister Liz is here. If you want to raise your hand, Liz. My sister flew in from Indianapolis to be here with her husband Mike and their two children, and Zach and Jacob. Two of Coach Holtz's grandsons are here. But I think the two greatest lessons that he taught was accountability. Is people don't want to be accountable. And they always want to blame everybody else. And he always talked about you are where you are because of the choices you make in life. You are where you are because it's exactly where you chose to be. Tough love was probably the only love he really knew. I mean, he was very demanding and very hard. But I think the second part of that is a service of attitude, an attitude of service. Even at the end when he was laying in his bed, people were having the opportunity to come in and see him and pay respects and talk to him and tell him what role he had in their lives. And everybody that walked in that door, his first question, he would say, "What can I do for you?" And I'm thinking, you can't even eat lunch. You know, I mean, how are you going to help everybody? But even all the way to the end, it was always about people. It was always about what can I do to help other people, because ultimately that's what we're here for. That's the purpose we have on this planet, is to turn and help other people. And I think those are the two things that really, from a standpoint, the biggest lessons he taught me. And what drove him was, as a child, he had nothing. He was a depression baby. He had a newspaper route. That route went to the family grocery fund that went to go buy groceries. I remember one time we were talking, and the price of belts, a belt that you wear, came up, and somebody said $50. It's like, $50 for a damn belt? Are you kidding me? For a belt? So I remember we were leaving to go to dinner that night, and my mom said to him, "Lou, do you want me to set the alarm?" And he said, "You better. I got like 10 belts up there in the closet. You better set the alarm." But I think he never had a lot. He was always incredibly driven with the background that he had. But those are the two biggest lessons that I would say.
I got the chance to coach in a couple of holiday bowls, and one of them he was the guest speaker, and it was like watching Johnny Carson take over a room. And then he finished with his newspaper.
Yes.
How many newspapers did you see him go through in terms of practicing that? If you haven't seen it, You can go on YouTube and see him do it. Basically, he's ripping the newspaper up into shreds and all that stuff, and at the end, he just opens it up, and it's a brand new newspaper. You're like, it's magician art and then some. How many times did you see him do that?
Thousands, a ton.
Can you do it?
I know how to do it. Let's start with that. I know how to do it. Can I do it? No, I have never. I have a hard enough time following him in the same profession. I'm not trying to be Bozo the Clown with size 72 shoes. You know, I mean, it'd be the next Lou Holtz. I'm just trying to be the best Skip Holtz I could be. So, no, I never tried to do it, but he's brilliant at it. But he used to thimble, hand tricks, the dot trick. He had all kinds of tricks he used to do on us as little kids all the time. The kids in the neighborhood would come over, and he's doing a magic show for all the kids in the neighborhood.
So before he was Dr. Lou, he was Magician Lou.
He was Magician Lou, yes, when we were little kids. He wasn't Coach Holtz. He was the magician before he was Coach Holtz to everybody in the neighborhood.
And speaking of Coach Holtz, what did you take from him that you applied to your own coaching style?
Wow. You guys going to give me a minute to think about this one for a minute. You know, I have never tried to do anything because this is what Lou Holtz did. But he did raise me for 18 years. I did have the opportunity to play for him for a year at Notre Dame when he came to Notre Dame. And I did have an opportunity to coach with him for 10 years. But he held me accountable. I will tell a quick story. I was at Connecticut. I was 29 years old. I became a head coach. I'd been an offensive coordinator my whole life, my growing up. And we go into a game and we lose like 40-42. And after the game, the phone always would ring to tell me everything I did wrong. And he said, well, you know, what'd you think of the game? And I said, you know, offensively we played really well. But defensively we got to get a couple things straight. And he said, well, do me a favor. On the door of your office, what does it say? And I said, it says Skip Holtz. He said, what else does it say? And I said, it says head football coach. And he said, that's your defense too. Start acting like it. And he hung up on me. I was like, damn, I better get the defense straight, huh? You know what? I'm going to go down and meet with the defensive coordinator. But I think if I were to look at it, I probably have more of my mother's personality with my father's influence. I'm not a huge yeller and screamer and holler, but yet at the same time, I think his upbringing to set a standard was what he was so good at, what he held me to.
I asked you earlier today how old you were in 1977.
Yes.
1977, Coach Holtz was coaching at Arkansas.
Yes.
And they had a heck of a year, I think number 6 in the country.
Yep.
And we're going to the Orange Bowl to play Barry Switzer's Oklahoma team,
Thomas
who were number
Lott.
2 in the country. And I'll bet you there's some Alabama fans who remember in 1977 because you beat Ohio State on that New Year's Day and thought you should have been the national champ. The day started with Notre Dame whipping the heck out of Texas in the Cotton Bowl. But your dad basically suspended 3 of his best offensive players.
87% of the scoring.
87% of the scoring because of something that had happened on campus, and he was going to draw a hard line.
Yep.
Then an offensive lineman got hurt right before the game, and the guys in Vegas took the game off the line.
Yes.
They said it's a runaway.
Can't bet it.
24 points, and then they stopped it. They win the game 31-6.
Yes.
The magic of Lou Holtz. I mean, you knew it before, but were you expecting that kind of result that day?
No. No, I was in the 8th grade. I mean, but I was not, no. But I will say that, I mean, he always talks about, you know, what'd you say to him before the game? He always says the last 11 out of the locker room have to start, and they knock the door down to get out of the door, you know what I mean? But that game, Roland Sales rushes for 205 yards in that game. They had Thomas Lott, Elvis Peacock. They had all those great players on that Oklahoma team. But he did an unbelievable job. And I'll tell you, Lou Holtz's coaching philosophy was adversity, and you'll know this better than anything. Adversity is going to tell you what type of team you're going to have. And if there's not a crisis, create one, was his whole mindset. If there's not where he was at his best was up against the wall there's a crisis and we have to handle it. You had, at the same time, and I tell this story, he suspended the 3 players. The 3 players, all the minority players boycott because the 3 players being suspended were black, and they weren't going to play. And so he's got an entire team, half of them aren't going to play. The players that got suspended sue him, and he said, I'm not even giving credit to it. Give me a public defendant. So Bill Clinton gets assigned to be the public defendant in the state of Arkansas to represent him. So Bill and Hillary used to come to the house to talk about this case, and all he wanted to do was talk about Oklahoma and the football game with what he was doing. But that was his whole, he worked best in a crisis situation. But he said that's when you learn adversity is going to tell you what type of team you have. Because if you can handle adversity, then you've got a chance. And so I've learned a million lessons, and I've been incredibly blessed. But did I think that was going to happen? No. Sure, I knew it was going to happen. I knew they were going to beat Oklahoma 31-6.
Coach Saban, how do you feel about that philosophy? Crisis. Are you in on that?
I never liked the crisis. I like things to be going exactly like we planned them to go, which usually doesn't happen, but I do agree with this. You know, there can be no great victories in life without tremendous adversity.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were going to play, when I was a DB coach at Ohio State, but your dad was a DB coach, at Ohio State.
Is there something to say about that? I mean, there's...
Yeah. I don't know about that, but and we had a terrible week of practice. Michigan was number 1. We had lost 2 games. We were getting killed in Columbus in the press. Everybody's pointing the fingers at each other. And, you know, Woody, who your dad coached for, came to the senior tackle. And he says, there can be no great victories in life without tremendous adversity. And he says, the war in the Pacific is the greatest military victory of all time because of Pearl Harbor and all we had to overcome to win. And you guys have the same opportunity to do this when you go to Michigan. You're playing on the road. You're 17-point underdogs. Everybody thinks you don't have a chance to win. This is an opportunity for a great win. We went up there and played, you know, out of our mind and won the game, you know, 14-9. So I do believe that your team has to have the kind of character to overcome adversity. But I never try to create a crisis. And it's interesting that he did.
Interesting. Opportune word there. You know, one of the beautiful things about this award is obviously we get to talk about legacy, and one that we got to celebrate a year ago here on this stage, Coach David Cutcliffe. So we're going to bring him out right now to have a conversation, a respected teacher, mentor in college football. So please welcome back to the stage, David Cutcliffe. Great to see you. Looking good as always.
Doing, boy? Good to see you.
Not sure what I'm doing up here. Just the least number of wins of the coaches that are up here.
Well, I took a big L today too, bud. So it's all good.
Well, you just heard it makes you better. Hard makes you better.
Did you have any games against Coach Holtz?
I did. Can I tell y'all a great Coach Holtz story?
Play it on us.
That's what we're here for.
I am at Augusta. First time and only time I'm playing with Peyton. And I knew that Skip was there, and I'd heard Coach was. But we're playing, hadn't seen him. We're on number 8, the really uphill third shot, par 5. And I'm hitting my third shot, and I hear a golf cart. You don't hear a golf cart, okay, at Augusta. I turn around to look, and I see Coach Holtz beeline toward me in this golf cart. I'm like, wow. Okay, so he gets up. He said, get in. I'll give you a ride up the hill. That's great. You know, I was blown away. So we start up the hill. And it's truth now. I got tough love here. So halfway up the hill, he looks at me and says, get out. I said, Coach, excuse me. He said, get out. He said, we went head to head 3 times as coaches. You won every one of them. I'm going to beat you up this hill. Okay. And he did. How creative is that man, huh? Wow.
That's a good story. From a coach's perspective, what did Lou do differently?
He was it reminded me a bit of coaching against Coach Saban. Every detail, everything that you did well, they tried to take away. Whether it was defense versus your offense or offense versus your defense, or even in the kicking game. He was a football coach. He's clever, he's funny, he's a magician. Let's not forget, he was a great football coach. When he was at NC State, I used to go visit that staff. And I talked to the other Coach Kiffin every time I went, Monty, because he and I would compare notes a lot. But I wanted to learn as much about Lou Holtz as I could as a bit younger coach. And I was just impressed at everything he did.
I'm sitting here looking at three guys who've all worn the head coaching headset. And in this climate of college football that we're currently in, we're not exactly to see exactly what the light at the end of the tunnel is. We're hoping it's not a train, right? David, your solution to what's going on, do we just need to kind of stay the course and trust the leaders, or where's your mind at as you watch all that's going on?
Well, I'm not kissing up to him. I trust Coach Saban. He has been right in the center of this. Sadly, there is not an opportunity to say, this is what we're going to do. Too many people that don't know what they're doing have a strong hold on college athletics. I tell them all the time, quit using the 24-letter alphabet. They say, what? I don't tell anybody no. The lawyers say we're not going to go to court. Tell them no, yes, we are going. So I just like to see the kind of fight that this man has over there and the knowledge he's got. It could be repaired. And I pray, my thoughts is on the players. What Coach said is real. Watching these young people do incredible things with their lives. And I don't think what we're doing is helping that matter at all. It's sad.
Well said.
De-emphasizing education.
And I would say, too, and I agree, he deserves that applause. Agreed.
You know, the way I always put it is, we all went to college to develop value for our future. Now we've set a tone in athletics, college athletics, that players are going to college to see how much money they can make. Yes. And when you change that dynamic, you change someone's motivation to develop as a person, as a student, to create a career after athletics, and as a football player. Because if things don't go exactly like they want them to go, then they just go someplace else or get in a portal and make more money or whatever it might be, so they don't have the same commitment to their teammates and to their own development, which I think is a real problem, because that's always what college and college athletics has been for all sports, not just football. And if the money keeps going the way it's going, we're not going to be able to sustain Olympic sports, women's sports, and non-revenue sports, which would be, to me, the biggest disaster of all.
Devastating.
And, you know, Olympic sports create opportunities for young people, whether they create revenue or not, to participate and compete in their sport. 85% of our Olympians in the last Olympics were developed in college. That's going to go away. And women should have the same opportunity to compete as men, even though some of their sports don't create revenue. So a lot of things going on right now, and you know, we have an opportunity with this Save College Sports act that may or may not get passed in the Senate to really fix all this. And you know, what I think people should do, and go back and talk to your congressmen and your senators and do whatever you can to get this passed. Democracy is not perfect, but it's better than anything else. This bill is not perfect, but it solves 80% of the problems. If you have 5 years of eligibility, one transfer, and put some kind of a limit on revenue share and how much money you can have in NIL, which this does, and the NIL part of it would be for player retention on your team, then you solve about 80% of the problems, just in those three things, if you just think about it. Now, there's a lot of other parts to this that are beneficial, but those three things solve a lot of the problems.
Got the right guy going to Washington.
No doubt. In my model, we have a commissioner named Nick Saban that runs college football, that runs it and oversees everything. And I believe, and this is my take, I would love to see it become about 4 or 5 divisions with relegation like soccer, to where everybody has an opportunity, if they're willing to make the commitment, to compete at the highest level. And those that are not competing at that level move down. I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. I think Coach Saban would be an unbelievable commissioner, to be the commissioner of college football.
You up for the task, Coach?
No.
Done.
Even if we let you talk shit?
Hey, he would say hell no, not just no.
Hey, Skip,
I don't know why I'd want to get in that briar patch.
Before we bring your family up to honor them with this award, I just want to ask you, when you think about the generations to come, your family, what do you want them to know about your grandfather, about their grandfather?
You know, there's so many things that I wanted him to write a book. I have pushed him to write a book for about 5 years. And he said, I wrote books. And he wrote Championship Season, and he wrote a couple. I wanted him to write a book talking about where his values were created, how we developed them. Born in West Virginia, born in Wheeling, moving over to East Liverpool, Depression baby, Dad drove a bus, Mom was a nurse, see it in the newspaper route. I wanted him to write a book, and I could never get him to write it. I said, Dad, I'll send somebody in. All you have to do is talk. No, that's not how I write books. Like, he sits down in the beginning. You know, I mean, he wants to write it all. But I think more than anything, just he was a man of character. He was a man of value. There was never a wrong time to do the right thing, and never a right time to do the wrong thing. He was a man of value. Yeah, he won football games and had great games in the Oklahoma game and the Orange Bowl. And you go through the Catholics versus convicts, which I loved his comment, which was totally unfair because not everybody at Notre Dame was Catholic, and that wasn't fair. I mean, and I think he had a lot of great wins. But when you look at who he was, like I said, he was a servant heart. He was, how do you help other people? And I think more than anything for my children, for his 2 grandsons that are sitting back there in the back, I think that's the thing that I would like for them to see more than anything. I wish you would have written that book.
I think we have one going right here. Who can tell the story better? Right. Sit down and talk like you just said you told your dad. Yep. Skip, yes. Take the opportunity to let all of us read that. We will be better for having heard this story about your dad. Think about that.
Sounds like a challenge. Thank you.
It's a good challenge.
You know, Lou talked to our team at Alabama after he retired and was probably one of the 2 or 3 best messages that any team ever received. And I want to tell the grandkids what I remember from that. And it was, choose, your choices will determine who you are as a character. You know, what habits do I have to create, what work need to be done, what skills need to be developed, what do I need to overcome. I mean, those things were just right on point with anybody who wanted to be successful. And I still remember those and think about them all the time. And it comes from his speech that he gave to our team after he retired.
Amazing.
And to another point, the last time I saw Lou was at Augusta. And he was with Tim Brown. And he could barely walk, and Tim had to help him along. And he was sitting in a chair when I walked in. They were having lunch. And I always went and talked to him. We had a great relationship. And I said, Coach, how you doing? And he says, I'm doing great. And when the conversation ended, he said, "Let me know if there's anything I can do for you," which you talked about before. Unbelievable.
Yep, that was
And with that, we'll send you off the stage, Coach Cutcliffe, and we'll bring up the family, as mentioned before, in the house tonight.
Good to see you, babe.
We appreciate you. We have Coach Holtz's daughter, Liz, as well as her husband, Mike, and sons, Zachary and Jacob, here tonight as we welcome them here to accept this honor. To meet you. Great to meet you. Great to meet you.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Great to meet you all. And of course, we'll take this as a moment for a photo op, but I do just want to, whoever wants to speak on this, but you know, it's obvious the impression that Lou made on so many people, for us for a very short period of time, for you all a lifetime. If you had one more afternoon with Lou, what would that afternoon look like?
it's yours.
Well, Skip and I were fortunate enough to be with Dad all through hospice. So I had the gift of getting to be with my dad every day. There weren't many other people in the house. If people came by, they were there for 15 minutes and left. And there was a lot of time that I didn't have the last, 50 years. But I don't know, it would be outside of that room. It would have been him in a healthy body, maybe on the golf course. Even though he timed every time you shot, he would say, "Oh, that took 23 seconds, a little faster next time," and go. But I would say I would like to play a round of golf with my dad when he's healthy.
Oh.
That would be it.
Yep. No, whether it's a round of golf, just to have another afternoon to spend with them. I mean, you take them for granted. They're not here forever. And now that he's gone and you look back, I can't tell you how many times I find myself asking him questions. Now that he's not here, were you? I need to call Dad. No, you're not. No, you're not. I just like to talk to him again. Get his, even though his love was tough love, even though he was hard. I will tell one more quick story. I can remember when I went to college, I went to Notre Dame. I graduated high school at Arkansas. I went to Notre Dame, 12 hours away. I'd call home, have a pity party with my mom. I was homesick, a long way away from home. My mom would be, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. You're so far away." So I called home one day when the phone was in the kitchen on the wall, and my dad answered. "Hello?" Oh, shit. So what's going on? It's like, Dad, just a long way away from home, just sitting here kind of, missing being at home. He said, "Hey, if it's too tough there and you can't make it, bring your sorry ass home." I said, "I'm good." I didn't call home for about 6 months. I was like, no, he may answer. I'm not doing it. I would love to have one of those conversations again. I would that's what I miss more than anything.
Classic.
Is that advice.
Classic.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for being here tonight. Liz, Mike, Jacob, Zachary, and of course Skip. Thank you. And we just getting this honor, I'm getting choked up just thinking about his legacy and all that he's left with us. And so thank you. And we, of course, honor the great Lou Holtz with the 2020. And I would say that we would pick up the trophy, but I know you're looking at it kind of like, what do we do with this thing? It's very heavy, so we leave the trophy there. Don't worry.
We're going to get it to you.
Can I just say this too? What an honor. Coach Saban represents everything that's good in college football. Not only wins, and he won a lot of games and won a lot of championships, but he did it with character. He did it with dignity. He did it legally. He did it the right way. And I have an incredible amount of respect, and that is one of the reasons that this award means so much, and to have the opportunity to accept it on his behalf, it's an honor to do that. And I also want to say to Coach Brown, we love you. My son chose Texas to play for Coach Brown. I love him. He's one of the best and duly, duly deserved. To Coach Brown as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, Coach.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Great to meet
Great
y'all.
to have you up here. Way to go, buddy.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Skip. Appreciate you, bud.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. No, stand up. Oh, you want to sit back down?
I played golf with
You
Lou
want to sit back
Holtz
down? Okay.
at that celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. He wore me out. He made every putt. I'm sitting there going, holy coat, smokes, Lou. Well, you're not spending any time in the office? He goes, not in January. Not in January. He was fantastic. A real stick. And you're getting to be a real stick, too. The word's out on you. Look at it.
Nope.
I'm not
I
buying
got to
that.
get 3 aside. And a traveler. You know what a traveler is? If you don't use your mulligan on the first tee, you can use it anywhere.
Oh, you got a traveling mulligan.
In Alabama, this works. Outside the state, not so much.
Not so much. I love it. All right, before we move on, we also want to just say a great big thank you and recognize the incredible work of the Birmingham Monday Morning Quarterback Club, the great work that you continue to do year in and year out. We are so, so grateful for you. Of course, our buddy Robbie Robertson always brings us back every year. He hits us up and says,
Somehow,
hey,
some way.
come on
Yes.
now. It's just amazing the work that you've done, the quarterbacking for children's health. Since 1939, this club and its 805 members have helped give more than $42 million to support children's health here in our community. And last year alone, $2.75 million went to 36 different charities. And so certainly want to just thank you all and all the members of the Birmingham Monday Morning Quarterback Club. Remarkable impact indeed. And of course, the impact is known as we get ready to welcome our second recipient tonight. A coach whose career has spanned more than 4 decades. Mack Brown won more than 280 games during a head coaching career that took him from App State to Tulane to North Carolina and of course Texas and Austin. He restored the Longhorns to national prominence. Nick Saban, you know a little bit about that, right? Delivering 9 straight 10-win seasons, leading Texas to that unforgettable 2005 national championship. He's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. But as we mentioned earlier tonight, the numbers only tell part of that story. Throughout his career, Coach Brown became known not only for building winning programs, but building those relationships that he and Coach Saban have talked about, a coach, a mentor, a leader, someone whose influence spans far beyond the field on Saturdays. So tonight we have the opportunity to celebrate him and talk with him, and we are so excited to honor him with the 2026 Nick Saban Legacy Award. Coach Brown, good to see ya.
Good to see you.
My man.
All right.
So I get to ask the first question again?
Oh, yes, sir.
He's excited now.
How do you follow Coach Holtz and the family, though? I mean, my gosh, how cool is that?
Yeah. Well, I just want to know what would have happened in our national championship game if Colt McCoy to get hurt.
That's a great question. I really haven't thought about it much. You know what? When I've been asked that question 1,000 times, and nobody wanted it to happen. You want the best teams to be out there, and it would have been a great game between 2 great teams, but that's football. And I've said it happened, so it's part of the game. So it's part of what it is. So when somebody said, what if it didn't happen? I said it did.
Yeah.
I was standing there watching it. So I'm fully aware that it happened.
But you had a great team, and the worst thing that can ever happen to you, to me, I think, in the game is to lose your quarterback. I think one of the best teams we ever had was the 2019 team when Tua breaks his hip. And we don't even get in the SEC championship game because we lost to Auburn after that. So I get it, man. We've all been through it, and it's an opportunity lost when you lose a great player like that.
And we think about all these preseason polls, and when I was with ESPN, and like they ask you all right before the national championship game, they'd say, who's your pick for next year? I said, you don't know who the quarterback's going to be. You don't know about your leadership. You don't know who's going to transfer. You don't know who's going to get hurt. So nobody knows anything. And I think we should fire all media people that miss their preseason
Wait a minute.
picks.
I'm a media
No,
person.
I think we should do that.
I think you should be held accountable.
Hey, but that would be all three of us up here.
Yeah, it's like officials.
Boom.
We should put names on the back of the officials so we could call them, put their number right under their email address, and we could get a lot of things handled.
Let me tell you what a good guy Mack Brown is. We're playing. I'm the head coach at UCLA, and we go out to play in Austin against your Longhorns. And I brought along a bunch of trying to cultivate some donors that will believe in our program so that I can stay at UCLA for a little while. And I get there, and I'm thinking that I'm going to get 25 field passes that are going to be distributed to my friends, these donors that I'm trying to cultivate. I get there, and I'm told, no field passes for you. So I've got a problem. I've got these guys I thought I was going to be able to take care of. So who do I go to see? Now, this is before a game. He and I are going to do battle here in Memorial Stadium there in Austin. And I go, Mac, I need a favor. He goes and gets his ops guy and gets me 30 field passes for my crew to come in there. And then we proceed to beat their ass.
Worst decision I've ever made in my life.
But he was so, I went across to shake hands with him, and I said, I didn't think it was going to turn out like that. And he looked at me, he says, wouldn't have had it any other way. Great job. But that was the ultimate good guy award that particular day. You saved me. You saved me.
Well, and we were playing at UCLA the next year, but I didn't need any extra passes because none of the boosters would go after that game. So I was good.
Let me tell you, this guy is a gentleman, and he always did things with tremendous integrity. That's one of the things I respected him most. But I promise you, you bring your ass to Alabama, you ain't getting shit.
And you would have whipped him, but
you know what? Had I come to Alabama, I wouldn't have asked. I would have known the answer. But this is such a good guy, ladies and gentlemen. Such a good guy. He has been that way since the moment I met him. He was at Texas. He takes the Texas job, having done a whale of a job at North Carolina. You get there, and you've got this Heisman Trophy running back. And you were saying he was a little different creature. Give us a little story about that Heisman Trophy running back.
When we were at North Carolina, I didn't let the guys have dreadlocks because I thought it's all about getting jobs when you get out. And it's a lot different now than it was then, but there was a stigma about dreadlocks that maybe it's drugs, it's not going to help you get jobs when you get out. So he talked to some of our players at North Carolina at an ESPN event, and he came in, and he said, he's number one pick. We need him because we're awful. We're 4-7. He's going to be our best defensive player as well as offensive player because he's going to keep the ball every time. So at first meeting, he walks out the back. He doesn't stay. So I didn't feel like that was a good sign. So then I asked him to come and see me, and I got Miss Sally, Miss Terry, same thing. Sally's going to be in there. So we're sitting in there, and I said, are you going to stay? Because I understand if you leave, you're your first pick. He said, I talked to your guys, and they said, you're really nice, but you don't like my hair, and you're not going to let me keep it. Sally said, I think it looks really cute. Greg Davis, our offensive coordinator, says, watch the video before you make a decision on his hair. So I'm in a pressure position anyway, so I said, give me a reason that you can keep your hair. We've all done this. Is it religious? Just give me a reason. And he said, I like Bob Marley music, so there's no reason other than I like Bob Marley.
Aww.
Sally said, I think that's a great idea. So he said two things. I said, well, I'm worried about you getting a job when you get through. And he said, I'm not going to need one. I said, that's fair. And then I said, and I'm worried about the older white voters of the Heisman that won't vote for you because you got dreadlocks. And he said, Coach, you need to learn something. If it's about your hair and the way you look, instead of how good a player you are, I don't want to win the Heisman. So he said, you need to think about what's in my heart, not my hair.
Ooh,
and he was right.
I love that.
He was right. So I said, okay, you can stay. That was enough. But he said one other thing that made sense, and we as coaches have learned this. He said, I want to ask you one thing. If you don't ever embarrass me in public, we won't ever have a problem. And I thought, that's fair, because he'd had some tough family situations. And I said, so I'm going to ask you one thing. If you don't ever embarrass me in public, then you and I are going to get along great. We never had a problem. And to this day, I did get in trouble. He goes into the Cotton Bowl Hall of Fame, and I went to him and I said, why are you around pot all the time? I said, it's against the rules. I've had to fight it my whole life. And he said, well, there's opioids in the NFL, and it's really hurtful to people. He said, pot just kind of lets them hang in there and get rid of some pain and play. I said, well, I got that. Next week, he tells Sports Illustrated, yeah, I was talking to Coach Brown. He says he totally understands me smoking pot. I said, Ricky, that's not what I said. That's what you heard.
Wow.
Well, you know, we had him in Miami.
Oh, that's right.
And he was suspended the year before. I did as much as I could and got him back. And he was the best competitor, the nicest guy. And, I mean, when he got the ball in practice, he ran 40 yards as fast as he could run, turned around, came back, flipped the ball in there, stood by me on the sidelines because we had drafted Ronnie Brown first, second pick in the draft. So I got these two running backs. They both need to play. And when Ricky wasn't in there, he was standing right beside me, just like Pop Warner saying, when you going to put me in? I mean, not in a bad way. He just wanted to play. He was a great competitor. Everybody on the team loved him. And he had one thing. You know, to me, I think, you know, he might have had a little anxiety disorder or whatever, and that's why he smoked pot. And, you know, to this day, I told the NFL, I said, you say you have a drug program, you have a drug testing program. You don't do anything to help these players if they have an issue or a problem. And, you know, Ricky was a victim of that, and I love the guy. He's writing a book now. I'm going to do something for him. I'm sure you are too, but what a great competitor. I have so much respect for that guy.
He was from California, and he was late all the time.
Patrick Henry High School.
Yep. So I was trying to figure out what to do with him late all the time. So I told him, you know, you're the only player we got. All the season ticket holders bought the tickets because of you, so I can't suspend you. I can't kick you off. Will you please show up on time? And he said, I don't have a watch. I said, get a watch. So what I did is I just sat in my office until he showed up. And then when he showed up, I came down because I told him I was on the phone, so he was never late. That was fair. And then he didn't come to the first pregame meal, our first game. I said, where's Ricky? They said, he doesn't eat meat. So I call Ricky. I go up to his room. I said, why aren't you coming to the pregame meal? He said, I don't eat meat. I said, what do you want? He said, cinnamon rolls. I said, cinnamon rolls. Pre-game meal, cinnamon rolls. And I'll stay in my office till Ricky shows up.
Hey, I'll take the cinnamon rolls all day long. All right, we're going to get into the landscape of college football with our next two guests. But before we do that, I do want to ask you, as you've removed yourself more and more from coaching, what do you miss most about the game?
Oh, relationships. You know, every day of our lives, me too, I did it 50 years. You had a plan. You had a team. You love your staff. You love pushing them. You love trying to help them get better. I remember Johnny Majors once. He yelled at the coaches all the time. I said, what are you yelling at them for? I said, I'm trying to make them better. I'm not fair to them unless I make them better. That's my job, to push them. And you love to compete. You don't have that fourth quarter again where you're down by 3 and you got the ball and you got to try to win the game. And in coaching, not only, Billy Graham said coaches change more lives in a year than a normal person would change in a lifetime. You not only change lives, you save lives. And when you're talking to those young people, and especially now with mental health issues that we've got, you never know what they're thinking or what they've got at home or what's going on or what's happened. And some of our coaches used to say, he's a bad kid. And I said, there's not such a thing as a bad kid. They were raised differently. But we were all raised differently. So we're supposed to help them get where they want to go. We're not supposed to say they're bad kids. And that's what I miss. Coach Royal won 3 national championships at Texas, and he was like an older brother to me. And he got dementia. And I brought him to a game, I think is maybe 2010, and I had him go out in the middle of the field and be the honorary captain. And I thought that was cool. And I had a friend take him, and he came over to me after he flipped the coin. I thought he was doing great, and he he said, I said, Coach, you did great, man. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. And he said, where am I? And the stadium's named Darrell K. Royal Stadium, so he didn't know where he was. And then he said, who's playing? I said, Coach, it's Texas and Wyoming. He said, which is which? So he went on a home right after that, and I went to see him about every 2 days. And he didn't remember that the stadium was named after him. He didn't remember how many games he'd won, but he knew every ex-player's name and ex-coach's name that walked in that room. It was unbelievable. And I'd try to help him. I'd say, Coach, he'd say, hell, I know who he is. So what you realize is when we're buried, it's about relationships. And that's what the legacy is really about.
Amazing. I love that. Well said, Coach.
I have to tell one more story about your quarterback who won the national championship.
Vince.
Vince? Everybody knows who I'm talking about, right? So I was a coach at LSU, and we're recruiting him, and we think we got a chance to get him. And obviously from Texas, Mac's recruiting him. So we bring him to camp in the summertime, and I was such a good coach, I convinced the guy to go play wide receiver.
Yeah, we missed on him. We should have played him at wide receiver.
So
we're on a podcast. I'm going to tell him Monday that you said he would have been a great wide receiver.
So then, remember when I was at the Cleveland Browns and you were having pro day and he was a senior, so he's ready for the draft, and I come and I'm there watching them all work out.
And I put you in a Texas pullover.
That's right.
And took pictures, by the way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I got reminded a few times that, well, Coach, I didn't make it a receiver.
Incredible career.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
All right, I know you're chomping at the bit to get into this conversation.
This is what I do.
This is what you do. Landscape of college football. And we've got two folks here to help us kind of break all this down, talk a little bit more in depth, to celebrate you, of course, and to dig a little deeper. Pat Dye Jr. spent his life around college football, respected sports agent and advisor now, son of legendary Auburn head coach Pat Dye, as well as Patrick Sudis, who has a unique connection to both of the coaches sitting here. Patrick worked for Coach Saban before joining Mack at Texas, later joining you at UNC in Chapel Hill, now the director of college football at Ethos Sports Group. Please welcome to the stage Pat Dye Jr. and Patrick Sudis.
Appreciate you.
How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again.
Hey, Pat.
I'm going to let you roll.
I'm going to ask the first question, if Coach will let me. Fascinating to have you both here, and congratulations on your dad's winning this award last year, Pat. It was fun to have you here and tell those stories about the great Coach Dye. You guys are both in the world of college athletics from an agency standpoint. You represent coaches, you represent players. Obviously, that world has changed drastically within the last half decade. And it's changing and evolving as we speak. Where do you see, two questions, where do you see it actually getting to a place where we've got an arms around it, if you will, and no bad guys here? What do you think it will take to get players to agree to the terms of this Protect College Sports Act, where they're excited about one-time transfer, 5 for 5, and all the different things that go into that bill, and not try to fight it via a lawsuit as everybody's fighting everything in college athletics today?
You can longer, go ahead. Well, I think what Coach Saban's done with the trying to activate federal legislation, which is what I thought it was always going to require. Another way to do it is collective bargaining, but I love the act they put forth, and I love that the Big Ten, the SEC, has come in and tweaked it. But that's what you're going to have, and it's sad to me that the decisions these young men are making, and it's a huge decision where you choose to go to college. I mean, academics, development as a football player, development as a young man, and it's become so transactional and about the zeros and young men choosing to go places that are not geographically desirable, what have you, just simply over the money. And it's, you know, I grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s with a very, very old school dad, and Coach Bryant and Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler and Johnny Majors, and to see the way these decisions are being made now and how transactional it's been, and to be able to jump ship right now every other year. I mean, it's free agency every year, and there's no other sport, even in the professional ranks, that allows that. And every other, you know, most sports have a salary cap, you know, as well. And we're sitting here as just the Wild Wild West. It's sad.
Yeah, I'm hoping one of the gentlemen to my right can wave a magic wand and fix this. I voted for Coach Brown when he was leaving UNC to be commissioner, and I know Coach Saban will do a great job at commissioner. I'm more on board with hopefully we can get something passed through Congress and the Senate and all that. That's a little bit above my head, but the collective bargaining model, you know, it works in the NFL. I don't know how it would work in college. You need the players to have a voice. Who's going to represent the players? Who's going to be the player rep union that sets all that up? There's a lot of hurdles with that. I just think moving forward, that's the only way to get things solidified is the players have a voice. But we have to have, I mean, we're both on the agent side, but there's so many agents out there, you call them agents, that are not even registered. They don't do the bare minimum of registering in the state that they're in or that they're working in. And that's all the NCAA and the state is asking them to do right now, and they can't even do that. So we need some sort of test for agents. We need all these things, which I know that the Protect College Sports Act talks a lot about that. But I think we'll get there. I think it's got to get worse before it gets better, unfortunately, before people continue to step in and fix it.
You know, the amazing thing about this is we had Mac was on the committee with us and worked hard to get to where we are right now with this bill. But the student athletes, they don't have an issue with this. You know, people talk about collective bargaining, they talk about players having representation, talk about all that. You know, we're still going to pay the players $46 million the way we have this set up, and set aside $5 more million for, you know, women's sports and non-revenue sports. And none of the players are complaining about that. They're still going to have plenty of opportunity, and they still keep their name, image, and likeness opportunities. Bryce Young got a Dr. Pepper commercial and a Nissan commercial because he won the Heisman Trophy. We didn't set that up. He did that on his own. He got to play, and he gets paid for that. And he gets paid for that over and above this money that we're talking about. So you keep your name, image, and likeness opportunities, but they can't be set up by the institution. Anything that's set up by the institution goes in this collective bucket of $25 million, which is used to retain your players. So it's going to cut down on the transfers. The players are going to still make plenty of money. We're just trying to keep this thing from running away. Right now, that's about where it is. Some schools are higher than that, but that's about where it is. So we just don't want it to run away, because if it does, we're going to lose all the other sports. So we also have agent education involved in this. We also have agent control in terms of how much they can charge these players, because right now some of them are getting raked over the coals. So there's a lot of protective things, and there's going to be antitrust legislation in this. So this is going to be the law. All right, it's not going to be lawsuits after lawsuits like we have now. And everybody blames the NCAA, but the NCAA is not at fault. What's at fault is everything they did became a lawsuit. We used to have a transfer rule. You had to sit out a year if you transferred. Everybody took them to court and won. So they just did away with the rule. So same thing, name, image, and likeness is about litigation. So everything in college athletics now is about litigation. This thing coming up with this player playing for the Cleveland Browns going back to LSU, that's going to be about litigation. So, but antitrust stops a lot of that. And that's what this bill will do if we can get it passed.
As Pat said, you know, the wild, wild west here, of course. And as we try to settle this down, if we get this next chapter right 5 years, 10 years from now, what do you think, Coach Brown, college football looks like?
Who's the boss? We don't have a boss. We don't have a boss, and we don't have any common sense. He's way too smart to do that. Way too smart.
Can't
I'm not
afford
the
it.
boss of my own house,
Yeah.
let alone how am I going to do this?
Me neither. But everybody in here is successful, or you wouldn't be here. And thank you so much for what you do for other people and kids like Nick and Terry. It's amazing. One of the best things you can do is give as you get older and help somebody that can't help themselves. And that's what you're all doing. But each one of you in your businesses and in your family have alignment. You got a boss. And then you got a lot of people that work together to have a strategic plan. And then all those good people, whether the best people or not, but if everybody's on the same page, you get the plan to work. And right now, we've got so many people that are worried about themselves, their own school, not college sports. And we got a lot of really smart people. I said to Sally once, I said, you know, those people are so dumb. She said, they're not dumb. They just have no common sense. They have no common sense, and they don't have practical experience with the sport and the kids, and they don't get it, and they won't listen to people who do. And that's our problem. Nick's done a great job with this committee. Like we said, 80% of it's great. There's a few things that they don't like. Hold a few things and put the 80% into play and get the few things fixed. I mean, we're not talking about hard here. This is simple. So we've just got to get everybody on the same page. And until we get alignment, we're not going to get it fixed.
And Pat and Patrick, I do want to just kick it over to you. We talk a lot about what's wrong with college football right now. What are we doing right?
Well, here's what I want to talk about. I want to thank Coach Saban again and this foundation for honoring my dad. And he would be so proud to know that he's part of a group with Lou Holtz and Mack Brown. He coached against Coach Holtz when he was at NC State, and Dad was at East Carolina. He adores Coach Brown, and I've represented probably 20 of your players between Carolina and Texas and then back to Carolina. And every one of them, every single one of them was a great young man. And every one of them, the kids, the parents, said, you were a great man. This is one of the finest human beings that's ever coached football in college football. And Lou Holtz is a great one too. So, sorry. What is right with college football? It's entertaining.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I actually visited with Commissioner Sankey this afternoon, and I'm just, as an agent, I'm sure Pat shares this, I'm just ready to get back to some sense of normalcy. We had the extra year with COVID, and then we got the retroactive 5 for 5, and now, you know, we've got an SEC rule that says that kids can't transfer intra-conference. You know, they can't go from Ole Miss to LSU, Lane. I'm just ready to, again, get back to some sense of normalcy, and I really do. I hope what Coach is pushing in Washington works out, and it's unbelievable when you think about it. If 10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever, before NIL hit, if the NCAA had said to the Power 5 programs, we'll pay each of your scholarship football players $5,000 a month, the players would have done cartwheels. And that is a fraction of what is being doled out now. And everybody gets the same. The left tackle protecting the quarterback gets $5,000 a month. The quarterback gets $5,000. It breeds acrimony, self-centeredness, and then the whole, again, free agency every year. It's a bidding contest. That's got to change.
But, you know, and I agree with everything that Pat's saying, and that's the underbelly of college athletics, which is really in a bad place right now. But in spite of all that, doing game day every week, we go to all these campuses, the tradition, the spirit, the enthusiasm, the fan support, I think a lot of what we see now in college athletics and the popularity of it continues to grow. And I think a lot of it was expanding the playoffs to 12 teams, camouflaged a lot of these issues and problems over the last few years. So a lot of people are like excited about what's happening. even though they disagree with the way it's happening for all the reasons that you just stated. So, and I think that the combination of those two things does not create the kind of sense of urgency that we need to get something done, to change it, because they see the popularity, they see the enthusiasm, they see the passion, but the consequence of what we're doing right now is going to be disastrous if we don't get it fixed.
And we're still all so excited about Saturday.
Can't wait.
So excited.
We can't wait.
And I think the opportunities provided to players and their families, Coach Saban and Coach Brown know this, you recruit a lot of players that come from nothing. And in the past, before NIL, some of these families couldn't afford to go see their sons play. And now with NIL, and that was the intent, is they can pay to go to games, they can pay for hotel rooms, they can pay for airplane tickets. You know, some of our kids would get 2-bedroom apartments and not get a roommate so that their family could stay there when they came for games, things like that. That's what the intent of NIL was in the beginning.
But now we've got no guidelines and we've got no consequences. So we made decisions without thinking about consequences, which you can't do and be successful. And that's where we've got to get the sense back into it. Could I say one other thing too? What a wonderful night for me, and thank you all. Nick's won more games than anybody, won more championships than anybody. He and Miss Terry have really given back to the state and the community and kids, with Nick's kids. And one thing I've always admired about Coach is he's got an unbelievable coaching tree, but he gave coaches a second chance. And a lot of us weren't strong enough to do it, or we couldn't get our administration to do it because maybe the coach messed up. He has saved so many careers of coaches and helped them move forward that I admire you so much for that. Just facts. Coach Pat Dye was a mentor to me, and I've told this story before, but we open up with him when I go to North Carolina, and we're at Auburn. They're ahead of us 33-0 at the end of the third quarter. He starts getting kids out of the stands to put them in the game. He doesn't even know their names to try to get this game where it's not 60 or 70. So after the game, I go out, and I'm about to cry, and it's my first game, and we're awful. And I said, Coach, thank you so much. It ended up 33-21, and he said, I was trying to make you kids leave here with some dignity and make them feel better. But he said, I do want to tell you, your team ain't worth a damn. And I said, yes, sir. I'm fully aware. And then when I went to Tulane, I asked him to come and speak, which he couldn't do that. He's got too much going at Auburn. And he comes over and speaks to our high school coaches and has a big crowd and all that. And I said, give me two things. Can I say the second one?
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
All right. I said, give me two things that I need to know as a young coach. He said, don't recruit potential, because that means he ain't done it yet. If he ain't done it yet and he's 17 years old, he damn sure ain't going to do it. And I said, yes, sir. I got that. I said, what's the other one? He said, in the South, you got to win twice. You got to win the game, then beat the point spread, or they're going to fire your ass. So I said, okay, Coach, thank you. So to be here with Pat and be honored like his dad, and then Coach Holtz was so good to me. It was amazing when you'd call the older coaches, they'd call you right back. And it's why Nick and I are trying to do that with young coaches now and help them. But I asked Coach Holtz one time, what should I know? And he said, 5 years is long enough. 7 years is too much. 10 years is an eternity, and they'll fire you after that. And I said, okay, and that's got some sense to it. And then I said, Coach, what about staying, though, if you love the place and all that? He said, yeah, they'll give you a lifetime contract. All that means is they're going to fire your ass when you lose or kill you. And then Pat's been a dear friend, and he's worked for us and done such a great job. My brother Watson's here, who did an unbelievable job at UAB. Thank you, brother. Love you so much. So this is a special night for me.
Well, we appreciate that segue. You've done some TV yourself. We appreciate Pat and Patrick for coming on with us tonight. And, we obviously have gotten to know you from maybe afar, maybe a little close, but your brother has gotten to know you from day one. So why don't we bring him up to the stage to let him give us some insights into Mr. Mack Brown.
see you, Pat. No stranger to Birmingham.
No.
Watson came in 1996.
He came when they were going up another level.
Watson, great to see you.
All right. Yeah, no stranger to Birmingham. That's right.
No stranger. But I want to know, you two being brothers, always great stories of young kids growing up, beating each other up and all that kind of stuff. You both went to Vanderbilt. But as I looked at the bios, your real first name is Lester, and your real first name is William. Where the hell did we get Watson and Mack?
Which would you go by, Lester or Watson?
You could have got less.
Huh? No, I took Watson. It's the last name. It was my granddad's last name. And but Mac and I growing up, this knot in my throat, that's my brother.
Oh.
He popped me when I was young. We're playing Cowboys and Indian. I happened to be the Indian, I think, at the time. But Mac and I have been so lucky. In this profession, as Coach Saban will tell you, you just don't have anybody to talk to. We're all in it, trying to win. There's certain things you'll talk to coaches, but the real things you won't. Mac and I've had that. So we could call and pass something by each other. And when one of us is down, the other one would call. And so it's been neat having a brother in the business. And I can just vividly remember when he's playing Southern Cal for the national championship. And he sends me the tapes of Southern Cal's tapes to watch. And so it's Christmas, so I take time. I watch, especially the defensive side, but both sides. So he calls me and he says, okay, you've seen it. What do you think? And I said, that number 10, Vince Young, he needs to have a hell of a game if you're going to win this thing. And that's exactly what happened in the game.
Exactly what happened.
The wide receiver.
The wide receiver.
Give us some insights on who Little Mac was growing up.
You know, Mac and I were never apart. Both of our parents had a sporting goods store. So we're by ourselves a lot. We go over to our grandparents' house, and we're always together. We're playing. I was a shortstop. Mac was the second baseman. I was the quarterback. Mac was a receiver. I was the point guard. Mac was the two guard. We always played together, and the few times we played each other was awful, to be very honest. It was not fun at all, but been very close. I went to Vanderbilt, committed to Alabama, backed out and went to Vanderbilt, and Mac followed me. And we had a heck of a sophomore year. Mac was a freshman, and then I get hurt in my junior year, and Mac immediately leaves and transfers to Florida State. And I was never able to play again. So that really separated us. But growing up, we did everything together. The maddest I ever got at him is we have a little Valiant that our parents got us, but we had to share the car. So I'm guess Mac, what, a sophomore? You're a freshman, is that right?
I don't remember this.
You know the story. Mac gets up after a game, and he's going in to get treatment. He totals the car in a cemetery.
Oh.
He puts the car in a cemetery. I've never been any madder at it in my life. My dad got mad at us. Mac, they didn't give us a car for 6 months. So Mama's taking us to school. You can imagine getting out of the high school with your Mama dropping both of us off. But finally we got another car. It was probably the maddest I've ever been at him in my life.
What was the new car you guys got?
Huh?
What was the other car you all got?
What was the next one, man?
I don't have any idea.
Yeah, you forget this stuff.
Yeah, I do. Well, it's amazing. You fall asleep, you roll a car over in the cemetery, and your brother's mad because you wrecked the car. He didn't care if you're going to live or not. He should have asked before how's Mac? How's the car? He wrecked my car? So, no, and our parents said they'd give us a car if we got scholarships. We both got scholarships, so that's what they took the money and gave us a car. And our dad was like Coach Holtz. I mean, he was hard. It was really hard, so we had to be at home by 10. We were at home by 9, in bed by 10. There were 3 channels that we had on our TV, and they decided what we would watch. and they wouldn't have TV on unless we were watching it with them. So it was, and Dad was at every practice, and he was a coach that wasn't coaching. He coached in a high school and lost 10 games. They made him the principal, and then he coached us every day. We were sitting there one year watching the Cowboys, and Coach Landry was losing, and Dad said, "How damn dumb is that guy?" And I thought, you just got fired. I mean, come on. And how bad do you think, we're two offensive coordinators, Dad. You think Coach Landry's stupid? What do you think about us?
Both of you, obviously, great careers, but both of you also had the role as athletic director. Watson, you at two different places, Rice and then UAB, and you at Tulane. Give me your thoughts about being an athletic director today.
You go first.
Well, I went to Tulane as a head coach, and there was a basketball scandal, John Williams, and they dropped basketball and kicked us out of the Metro Conference. So they made me the AD because we didn't have any money. They didn't want to pay anybody else, I think. That's why I think I became AD. And I hired good people to help me, and I enjoyed it, and I thought it was good. But that's gone away. You know, the coach dies were ADs, and so many coaches back then just continued to be ADs. And very honestly, we didn't have all the problems we got now because the coaches understood the problems, and they would tell the coach, "Shut up, fix it," and we don't have that anymore. There's a separation of ADs and coaches and presidents in so many cases, and presidents are making more decisions than coaches. And ADs don't have the same feel as the coaches used to back then. So, and Watson was actually the AD at two places and did a great job with it, but it's an overload. It's probably too much when you were doing it, especially today. I wouldn't be an AD today because there's not enough money. It's not sustainable. And I don't know, and you all are tired of them calling you. I had my friends at North Carolina say, "I'm going to block your number. I got caller ID, man. Every time you call me, you want money." So I used to call and say, "Hey." They said, "What do you want?" I said, "Nothing, just checking on you, see how you're doing." Then I'd hang up and call them right back and say, "I do need $100,000. So,
But you know, in the old days about the whole AD thing is, I remember when I first came in the SEC and I was at LSU, and we would always meet with when we did the SEC meetings, we would all end up meeting with the ADs. The AD room was full of former coaches, with Vince Dooley, Mal Moore at Alabama. But the whole room. At the end of my career, you go in that room, there were no coaches, and they didn't understand. I've been fortunate. I had Skip Bertman was the AD. At LSU, he just passed away. And he understood coaches. And the same thing with Mal. He understood coaches. Mal, when I was watching the film on Sunday, Mal would come in and sit down in a chair with the baseball hat on and wouldn't say a word. So Mark Ingram fumbled the ball, and I said, "Damn, I don't know what to do with this guy. He carries the ball in the wrong arm half the time, and he fumbled." And, Mal just shook his head and he said, I was coaching, I'm not going to say the quarterback's name, a quarterback that he was coaching way back for Coach Bryant. And he said, I told Coach Bryant if I could get him to push the ball up more, he'd be able to throw it better. And this guy was an All-American. And Coach Bryant was smoking his cigarette, and he said, "Don't screw with him." So he would tell me that story, and he was telling me, Mark Ingram's pretty damn good. Don't worry about what arm he's carrying the ball.
True.
But we don't have those kind of ADs anymore.
And as we close this thing out, Watson, you've had a front row seat to Mack's career and what he's been able to do. What are you most proud of?
I think the thing that I'm proud of is if you were with him behind closed doors, you'd be more proud of him than you are when he's out in public. He handles himself well in public, but what he believes, you see it behind closed doors, and that's the way he was. There was never a put on in Mack. There was never a show. He's an old timer. Coach is an old timer. They care about the players, and that's what scares me the most right now. Is these coaches care about these players, but I'm not sure that the players are getting what they need that these guys were able to give them. A guy had come to his program and stay 5 years. He left a different person. He was ready to step out in the real world and handle things the right way and raise a family and raise his kids right and fit in the business world and make a living and all the things. So that was taught, and it was taught by these guys. And you can't do that in 6 months. These kids come in for 6 months. They're paid. They leave. I know that every place he was, every place I was, every place Coach was, what was on the side of your helmet was what it was all about. You took a lot of pride in wearing that football helmet. And whether it was those white numbers at Alabama or if it was the horns at Texas or the Blazer sign where I was here for 12 years, that meant something. And I think now we're losing that a little bit because money becomes the first thing. And the tradition of where you are and proud to be where you are and just staying for 6 months, they're not getting what these guys taught. And I know what he taught. But it's all behind closed doors to me. There's not one piece I put on in my brother. When he says something, that's exactly how he feels. Sometimes to a fault, but that's Mack, and that I'm very proud of.
And he dominated you in Cowboys and Indians. And that's what this Legacy Award is all about. Obviously, the person that you are out on the field and obviously behind the scenes and all the people that you've impacted and influenced. So we appreciate you. And again, we just want to honor you once again with the 2026 Nick Saban Legacy Award. And if you want to have a final word, we'd love to give you the mic to share it.
Well, again, thank you, brother. Love you very much. And you did a tremendous job of taking the program, elevating it to a different level, which is impossible to do, and you did it. And I don't know who made your damn schedule. If you were the AD, you should have changed it because there's too many hard games on there. You should have gotten mad at your AD. I remember Coach Bryant once saying they were talking about wanting a new coach at Alabama. And he said, well, I asked the AD's wife, because he was the AD too, and she said she likes me to be the coach still, and I sleep with her every night. So that wasn't bad for him to continue to be the coach. So, and I do remember Watson. Coach Bryant recruited both of us, and we loved Coach Bryant, Coach Donahue, and Coach Goosetree, and the Alabama staff, Mal. And Watson turned down. Coach Bryant told him, you're going to be like Joe Namath and Stabler, Kenny Stabler, and Watson went to Vanderbilt. So I'm not real sure about his intelligence level. But that's a decision that you just have to make as you go through. But tonight's special. Like I said, it's special because of my brother, special because of Nick and what he's meant to college football and continues to mean. It's special because of Coach Dye and Pat and all the times I've worked with him and Pat Suttis. And David Cutcliffe has been a dear friend for so many years. And Coach Holtz, again, he and Coach Dye were mentors to me. And that's what I hope to be for younger coaches, because they would take complicated things and make them very simple. And that's what, and I believe football is a simple game. It's played and coached by complicated people. And what we've got to do is we've got to get the simple back. And we've got to make sure that we get the integrity back. We've got to make sure that we get what's best for these young people. We've got to make sure that we're changing and saving lives. And we've got to make sure that we're helping them have a better life when they get out. And it's a 40-year decision, not a 4. And those are all things that we're losing right now that we've got to get back. If you transfer once, you got a 63% chance to graduate. We got guys transferring 2, 3, 4 times. They're not going to get a degree. They're not going to have a community like the Alabama and the Auburn kids do, the Texas kids that come back and get around all of you people that help them with their lives and help them grow and help them get jobs. And then we're going to have mental health issues because they're going to be homeless. And they're going to get more money coming in than they get when they go out. And that's not good for our game. And we need to get it back for all sports, not just the football part of it. But I really think it's bad enough now. We're headed back in a good direction. And it's sometimes things have to be, it's like you learn from losses. Well, we've lost here the last couple of years, so we got to get it back. But we can't wait till Saturday to get college football started again. So thank you very much.
Mack Brown, thank you so much for your impact on college football. Watson, thank you for being here with us tonight as well. And as we send you off the stage, we just want to say our last few thank yous. So we'll let you guys mosey on. So that way you can get on with your evening. We so appreciate you. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate you. And we appreciate all of you for being here tonight. I know it's been probably a little longer evening than we anticipated.
This is what happens when you get a bunch of ball coaches telling stories.
I know.
It's just what happens.
Hey, but some of the greatest stories and obviously insights that you can't get anywhere else. So we appreciate it. We, of course, appreciate our sponsors, Red Mountain Theater and the Monday Morning Quarterback Club, for all the great work that you do. And now we're going to hand it over to Nick Saban for his final word.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank all the sponsors. Thank the Quarterback Club for all that they do to help Children's Hospital and a lot of other organizations, around the state. But I guess, the one thing that I would mention to you for all of us is, we talk about legacy. What is legacy? It's all about what you leave behind. So, the metaphor for all of us coaches who are all retired now, we had careers, we tell stories, we talk about it, and it's a metaphor like a tree has leaves. So that was our career. This is our life. What happens in the fall? The leaves fall. Our career is over. Our life is over sometimes. What happens in the spring? New leaves, new people, new ideas. So what is our focus? What can we control? What we do while that tree is growing. That's what we leave behind. So what all these coaches that we've honored here have done, Lou, Mack, what did they do? They provided great leadership to impact and influence young people's lives by, first of all, setting a good example in terms of their character, and they were somebody that the young people could emulate, and I admire that. If it wasn't for the people that I had as mentors, I'd have never accomplished anything. That's what these guys did. And they cared about the players for their benefit, the players' benefit. Not their benefit, the players' benefit. And they had a vision for what they wanted to try to accomplish and a process of what they were going to have these guys go through and inspire them to that vision so that they had a chance to be successful. And it was value-based in terms of how it would help them be successful in their life, not just in football. In terms of being a part of a team, the kind of commitments you got to make to the team, the kind of principles and values you got to buy into, and everybody's got to buy into them and respect and trust. That's what's going to help you be successful, because you have to respect and trust each other, so everybody has to buy in. You got to be positive in terms of how you impact other people. You got to accountability. Be responsible for your own self-determination. That's what we always taught our players. Don't look at somebody else. You got to do it. You got to be responsible for it. And then the work, the passion, the perseverance, the discipline that goes with those things. The ability to overcome adversity, which we've talked about before tonight. The trust that you develop not only in yourself to do a job, because you were accountable and responsible. So you also develop a pride in performance that will help you be the best that you could ever be, which is all any of us could ever ask of our children, of ourselves, of our players, or anything. But this is the kind of leadership, all right, that these guys provided that impacted so many young people for the rest of their life. And that's why we coach. I said it earlier, coaching is teaching. Teaching is ability to inspire learning. And that's what these guys did, and that learning helped these people be successful. And that's the thing that I miss most about coaching. I'm sure that's what they miss most about coaching, but it's a legacy of how they impacted other people. That's how they'll be remembered. And all the great coaches that I followed, Coach Bryant, Woody Hayes when I was at Ohio State. What do you hear from the former players? These guys are long gone, long gone. They talk about the impact that the coach had on them and how it impacted their life and helped them be successful. That's what the people that we honor here tonight, Lou Holtz and Mack Brown, did for the players that they impacted for their entire career. And that's what I respect the most. They were great competitors, and I respect that. but they also did a great job of doing the things they could do to impact other people's lives, which there's nothing better than that, giving to help somebody else be successful. So I appreciate you all being here tonight. God bless you. We love you. We're going to continue to do this. We have so many great leaders, but it's a challenge for you. No matter what you do, what are you going to leave behind? How are you going to be remembered? That's what your legacy is. That's what your life should be about. So thank you very much, and God bless you.
There you go, partner. Knocked it out of the park again.
Mic drop. Thank you, Coach. Awesome as always. Thank